All right, what's up, everybody, man? It's the Exodus Apothecary here. Today, I just want to share a powerful perspective on vitalism. Once I got hip to vitalism, I got stuck. Being a mental health therapist, looking at the whole person is kind of like what vitalism is. But vitalism is where symptoms aren't enemies, right? They're intelligent messages from our body. You know, instead of fighting these signals, we learn to listen and translate and follow them to their root causes. A lot of symptoms you see are just like speakers telling you that there's music playing. We got to find that music, right? This understanding shapes how we diagnose and heal, focusing on the body's inner wisdom, right? Rather than just suppressing the symptoms. When we look at the body's inner wisdom, we know that the body tells on the mind or that the mind tells on the body, right? Either way, it tells us that there's something else going on. And from the vitalist perspective, we see the body as an incredibly complex, as well as intelligent design, right? Self organ system kind of compromising multiple organizational layers, right? The largest layer is the Constitution, which is a universal principle amongst the vitalist traditions. Or, I would say, according to this perspective, each person is kind of imprinted or, created with their own particular pattern of energetic qualities, I guess I would say, that determine kind of the overall function and form of the body, the expressions of the organ systems, the tissues, the psychological dynamics, as well as just overall predispositions towards health and disease. Right. That also depends on race, ethnic background, cultural preferences. Right. The Constitution is still within a certain strengths and weaknesses that are either accentuated or diminished by how we live, in our everyday lives, the foods we eat, the thoughts we think. See, this is more than just food. It's psychological, right? The environments where we spend our time, right? I always say, to some of my clients, what you frequent becomes your frequencies, right? Everything influences our constitution. That's what we need to realize. Like our social conditioning, our social environment. If you're involved in certain hate groups, your body's going to be more acidic, right? But by recognizing the balance or imbalance, I guess, in our organ systems, we see that their strengths, their weaknesses, their excesses, and their deficiencies. We tap into a holistic view of health. It's about reconnecting with the body's natural intelligence to restore true wellness from within. We realize that, the things that we eat now causes the diseases we'll live with later, right? We have to gain insight into our healing, right? And that what occurs unnaturally based on unnatural foods like biogenetically engineered foods. We're going to have biogenetically engineered diseases, right, that we must cope with. We must learn to, I would say, eradicate them from our bodies. And nothing like good old natural herbs, right? Start putting the things that are natural for your body back into your body. Stop the food that comes in boxes and cans and jars. And cans aren't too bad, jars aren't too bad, but I mean like pops and soda, some people call them, right? We really want to take into perspective the whole person, right? You can look good on the outside, you could be lifting weights and losing a lot of weight, but the damage that we've done to our organs, right? Our lymphatic system, right? Our adrenals, based on the cortisol, based on stress that we've not learned to deal with, right? Or to mitigate the symptoms of. These things cause disease, right? And so just being mindful of that, the vitalist perspective makes us look at the mind, the body, the soul, the psychological flexibility or psychological gymnastics that we have to do on a daily basis to kind of psychologically get through things that are challenging for us, right? We need to recognize that things that we stress about or become depressed about also cause our healing abilities to decline, right? That's just a higher hill we have to climb. So not only just, check out herbs for healing your body, but see a therapist, right? Go to psychotherapy, which is just kind of talk therapy, or it's a lot deeper than that. But for most folks, it's kind of just talk therapy, where you kind of talk things out and you kind of look at things dialectically, right? From a kaleidoscope, right? From a different lens, right? You can be so rooted in one thought on this side, but somebody else's perspective is this side, right? So to each person, this is true for them, and this is true for them, right? So two things can be true at the same time, right? You can be eating healthy, but still be sick, right? How can both those things be true? Well, they are, right? And so finding a plan to move forward from a vitalist or a holistic perspective is really important when it comes to being able to justify your route of wellness. And with that, I just want to say, man, all praises to the Most High. Learn something old, and that is that these herbs really do help us heal.